The day is upon us, Paul.
What day is that?
Well, I mean, tomorrow will be our last podcast or whatever. But today is the day you take your Amazon device, you take it out back, and you just put it out of its misery.
Why? What happened?
I was either this wasn't broadcast very well. Maybe I shouldn't say not very well, or I just completely missed it. Have you heard of Amazon Sidewalk?
Yeah.
This is like the dystopian Bezos net, and so
Explain what it is, though.
So I got an email this morning. It says, "Dear Brad Sams, a new feature is coming for your Echo devices called Amazon Sidewalk. Amazon Sidewalk is a shared network that helps your devices work better. For example, if your device loses its Wi-Fi connection, Sidewalk can simply reconnect your router and help set up new Echo devices. Sidewalk can also extend the coverage for Sidewalk-enabled devices such as Ring, smart lights, and other trackers, so they can stay connected to the internet." When enabled, Sidewalk uses a small portion of your internet bandwidth to provide these services to your neighborhood.
Yes,
the setting will
say that's where you get to the weird part. Yep.
Yeah, the setting will apply to all of supported Echo devices and Ring devices, and it'll be linked to your Amazon account. You will be able to opt out of this feature. So it's enabled by default. So effectively, they're going to take your Amazon device, take a little bit of your internet, and just broadcast it for your neighborhood to use, and they're not going to pay you for it.
They've probably been putting like these super powerful radio antennas in these things, like just for this purpose,
Yeah, how
So,
I can hear you across the room? Well,
you have some Amazon Echo devices.
I don't
right?
think any of them have been hooked up for a while, though.
But you do. I mean, you own some. So
Yeah, I do own some, yes.
So you must. What do you use? Like an Alexa app or something? Is that how you?
Yes.
Is that how that works? All right. So I mean, it would be incredibly irresponsible of them. I realize you got an email or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
When this thing updates, like it should notify you immediately. Like this is horrifying.
Yeah. I mean, because there's going to be
Horrifying.
millions of, and they know this, there's going to be millions of people who are just like, oh yeah, that sounds kind of great. And they're not actually thinking about what it's doing. Is it's broadcast.
Right.
I mean,
Well, the problem is, as you were reading that, remember, there's a couple sentences where you're like, it's going to do this. You're like, oh, that's really nice. Yeah, it's going to do this. You're like, oh, that's really nice. And then you're like, oh, I'm going to stop reading. It sounds great.
yeah.
Of course I want this.
Yeah, buried at the bottom. They're just going to take your internet, just give it away to your neighbors, let them connect to it. You don't really have any control over that. It's just a private internet access point that is just broadcast throughout your neighborhood.
Broadcast to the world. Yeah. But only available to the Skynet Echo devices. So the 1990s version of this was we're living in Phoenix, and we're one of the first places in the United States to get cable modem access to the internet because it was flat and it was easy to do or whatever. And by the way, literally Intel white lab suited guys came to the house. It was like we were being invaded by Mars. It took all day, and we got cable modem, whatever it was, And so a couple of my friends got it, and we were all excited because you can play online now. It's amazing. But back in that day, Windows 95 was still brand new. It had this network neighborhood feature, which wasn't locked down in any way, shape, or form. And of course, the cable modem company, Cox Internet, I think at the time, had no idea what they were doing. And if you had Windows 95 and you went into network neighborhood, you could see all of the computers on the network out in the world, out in Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
So what my friend Brian used to do was print to my printer from his house.
Oh, God.
Because we're on the same network, So I'd be sitting there in my office working, and all of a sudden you hear like, zzz, 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 and this like thing would slowly come out, and like you realize it's like a naked woman. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Yeah, so that's what this is. It's this again,
Yeah,
Stupid.
they claim that they've got a lot of security protocols in there and everything's going to be great, which I'm sure they have really thought this through. I don't discount that fact because it's pretty obvious why, but it only takes one person to figure out how to get through it, and then you get free internet.
I was going to say, once you connect two or more devices, you're opening up yourself to hackers. I mean, okay. Well,
yeah,
I'm sure they don't mean this maliciously. But this is
one
a
of
year
those
in which
things
Amazon,
where they're trying to create their own mesh network the cheapest way possible, right? We already have things like LTE or 5G whenever it arrives or doesn't arrive. We're soon going to have. I mean, Bezos has got a lot of money. Launch some satellites up like Musk. Get your own internet that way. Like, come on.
Yeah. So don't stop until you've blotted out the entire night sky. You know?
Yes, thank you. It's gonna be like that Simpsons episode. They're just slowly gonna
Yes.
like we've got the giant mass of trash in the Pacific. Eventually,
Mm-hmm.
all these satellites are gonna get like gravitationally stuck together, and then they're just gonna be like, going around the Earth, just blocking out the sun.
Oh, Christ. I was not aware of this. That's fascinating.
It's been terrifying. It's like,
Yeah.
yikes.
Yep.
Anyway, so there's that. I need to write this today if I get enough time.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 weeks with the Xbox. I think it's time to write.
Oh, yeah.
So like here's I've already got like the outline of it done. It's not super long, but it's the best Xbox that you don't need to buy right now
Yeah. That sounds about right.
because like
It's hard.
It's,
Any one of us would defend the strategy,
Yeah.
right? They're like, look, it plays all the same games. You're like, beautiful, a great ecosystem. The interface looks exactly the same. You're like, awesome, I already know it. That's what I want. I want to get up and going. And then you kind of look at it and you're like, oh, wow, it's exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they promised that.
Yeah.
And I agreed that it was a good idea. But in practice, you're like, it's a little disappointing, And I don't know if Halo had happened on schedule and had been a blockbuster, awesome, amazing game, if that would have made too much of a difference, because obviously that too would have been available everywhere. But then again, at least they would have had something new,
It's basically it's like it's the same argument as the Elite Series 2 controller. For a certain demographic, it makes perfect sense. Go out and buy it. It's the best of the best. It's going to do all that. But when you sit back down on your couch, you're still playing the same games. I would make the argument that for most people, for the vast majority of people, the visual difference between a 1X and a Series X, while you can tell a difference, it's
even
not
a Series S. You could throw that one in the mix too. I think honestly, I was going to go right down that same path. It is, in fact, what the first thought that went through my head, and this is something I haven't done. It's something we should both maybe consider doing. Since I've had these consoles, I haven't really booted up the Xbox One X per se.
Mm-hmm.
I should play Modern Warfare or the new Black Ops on the One X. I bet it's. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, I do remember, and maybe that's why it's worth looking at. When World at War came out, that Call of Duty game, whatever year that was, I had moved to the Xbox One X and I played it on that console, and I just sort of assumed like there would be no change, whatever. But at some point I went back and looked at it on the Xbox One S, and actually the visual differences were striking. Like it was very noticeable. So maybe I'll do that. I'll do that today. You should consider it too.
I should too. Maybe I will.
But that's the thing. Like if you Assassin's Creed Valhalla, name any brand new game, whatever. Does it look better on the X? Probably. But I played that game on the 2, and I'm like, I mean, honestly, Call of Duty to me looks exactly the same. If you handed me a controller and said, "Tell me which one this is," console, playing Call of Duty, there'd be no way to tell.
Yeah, I realistically think the only way you could tell would actually be to jump out of the game and to start navigating around the dashboard, logging in.
Oh no, I meant between the S and the X in that case.
Oh yeah.
So I'm not. Yeah, this is why I'm curious now about the One X, because the fact that this game looks so, and this is multiplayer only, by the way, there could be big differences in single player, but the fact that it is, to me, visually indistinguishable suggests that the Xbox One X should look the same. Why would it look worse than the Xbox Series S?
Yep.
I haven't tried it though, so I will do that.
Yeah. The biggest difference I think you might note, but again, the majority of people are not going to notice this, is the frames per second. That's going to be the ray tracing and whatever, but FPS is.
I only do 6. I mean, my display's only 60. Although actually, it still could be. Yeah, you're right. All right, we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Get my ass handed to me on a different console. It'll be fun.
I mean, like the good news is too is like, for anybody who's not like in that hardcore demographic, you can't buy one anyway. So it's not like you're not going to be buying one for a while. And
that's kind of why, depending on how you game, the better purchase this holiday season, well, I mean, the only one you can make, is to just get a Game Pass.
Oh yeah.
And however many months, I mean, you could get 3, 6, whatever, and bide your time, and we'll see what the landscape looks like 6 months from now when these consoles are readily available, and there were more games, but it's not Microsoft's fault. This is the hardest thing. Like, I know it sounds like this criticism of them. The truth is, as they explain their strategy, I agree with all of it. I think it's smart. I think it's pro gamer. Mm-hmm. But it is, in the sense of you bought something shiny and new, it's a little bit of a letdown, you know?
Yeah.
It's the reason why people shouldn't buy an iPhone every year, you know?
No, it's exactly why you shouldn't buy an iPhone every year.
It's because you just spend a lot of money and you're like, this is the same.
I don't know who tweeted this out, but it was somebody tweeted out that they had an iPhone 11 and they're waiting for their iPhone 12. And they said, this is the point in time where I think the iPhone is going to improve my life way more than it actually will. Because they're just upgrading year over year. And it's like, that's completely, like, you get this idea that it's going to make your life better. And it...
Listen, dude, I've been reviewing tech products for over 20 years. I still fall for this trap, you know? Maybe this one will be the one, you know? This is the one, you know? None of them are the one. None of them are going to solve all your problems. You know, you could be happy with a purchase. I don't mean let me force, but I mean, if you, it's astonishing. This is a lesson I should have learned when I was 10 years old. You know, you get some Christmas present, you've been waiting for it, and then when you finally get it, you realize the anticipation of it was better than the reality of having it. You know, but there must be something built into human beings that makes this happen, because it's. I fall for it again and again and again. I know about it. I'm talking about it now. I know it exists, you know, but it's like, oh, your package from Apple's coming. You're like, oh my God, here we go. You know, no, that's just,
yeah. So anyways, just things to be on the lookout. You can maybe carry your Xbox down the sidewalk and, you know, package the whole episode up.
I mean, if you did get an Xbox Series X, you could probably make about $1,000 right now if you wanted to. I mean,
yeah, if you really want to, or you could just not, and then make sure people who actually want it.
Just be a good human being and not do that. Yeah, I mean, it's all kinds of different paths you could choose, I guess.
There are a lot. We often take the low road, but every once in a while, maybe we should take the high road.
Yep.